Welcome to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a whole lot of banter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Christy.
What are we talking about this week, Christy?
So today, we are,
It feels heavy already?
it feels heavy already, but we'll bring some levity to it, I'm sure. We are going to talk about a Facebook post that I saw a few weeks ago that I sent to Heather. Much, much like we've done in the past, we still send each other things that we have big feelings about, and then
Mm.
we discuss it, and then we say, you know what would be a good idea is we should discuss it on the podcast. So that's what happened. I will just go ahead and read the post, and then we will try to get into it
Mm.
from there. All right. The post says, sad story alert. This beautiful, sweet boy spent over a year in the shelter. He was everyone's favorite and clearly had a cute personality and was well loved. There was quite a celebration a week ago when he finally got adopted. We all thought, this is it. He finally found his forever home. That all came to a screeching halt yesterday when he was returned to the shelter. There was a situation. A bite occurred. Another dog was involved. We don't know all the details and probably never will, but this boy will most likely be put down now. How could this be the end of his story? Reminder, all in capitals, reminder. A shelter dog is not a normal dog. He has suffered things we will never know the full extent of. He may never be a normal dog. And after being in a shelter for any amount of time, he will need extra time, love, patience, space, and understanding. If you put him in a situation where he will react and you don't know how to deal with it, you are giving him a death sentence. But just so he knows, we love him. The volunteers and staff who have met him, spent time with him, and fallen in love with the sweet boy. And his life matters to us. I hope everyone learns from this and does better next time. But this will most likely cost him his life. Whew. I
Oh.
There's a lot of different directions I want to go with this.
Okay,
And
you just take it away.
I don't even know where to start. I will start with the reason I think we wanted to address this was because this post was shared 51 times.
Mhm.
And so it was gaining some traction. So this is a post about a dog from Maricopa County Animal Care and Control, where Heather and I are located in Arizona.
And I am a former volunteer.
Yes, we are both former volunteers for Maricopa County. I think I wanted to address it because it was gaining traction. There were lots of shares, but as I read through it, I have some really fundamental problems with this post. And so I want to be careful how I come at this because I understand it is incredibly frustrating when you give people instructions on what not to do. Believe me, I live and work with and am surrounded by with non-dog people. And I will say, here, do not do this. And what they immediately do the thing I told them not to do. Like
Mhm.
when I had Jenny, please don't let her meet other dogs on leash immediately. If she's meeting other dogs on leash, if I hand her leash over. So I understand that is frustrating, but there is a lot to dig into in this post. And I think we need to unlayer the post a bit so that we can get down to the heart of the post, as well as some logical fallacies, in my opinion, that I see in the post. So if you agree with the post, great, hang in there with us so that you can get a different perspective. If you
Mhm.
disagree with the post, great, hang in there with us so you can have a conversation.
Yep. Mhm.
I think one of the most disturbing things to Heather and I both was this poster's blanket statement that a shelter dog is not a normal dog. Whew. What?
I I feel like I'm gonna have to do like a lot of woo-saw during this episode.
Yeah.
And so if you need to take moments where you need to take a breath, go for it. First of all, what is normal? And I know that that really sounds like such a, like I'm not being trite. I,
Right.
I really am like, what is normal? Okay. A shelter dog is not a normal dog. Well, why don't you just demonize every single freaking dog who has ever stepped a toe into a shelter
Right.
forever? Every single dog that has ever been in a shelter. Like, what? I don't know how the poster was thinking that that was somehow helping shelter dogs.
Yeah, I would say any dog that is going through a transition of a new home needs extra love and patience and structure and all of those things as you get to know each other. But not because it's a shelter dog, because it's a new experience that you're
Right.
sharing with a new sentient being
Yeah.
who has their own thoughts and feelings and all of those things. I strongly disagree. Like, I cannot emphasize how strongly I disagree with the statement that a shelter dog is not a normal dog. Because if I agreed with that, I would 100% never recommend a shelter dog to anyone.
I feel like you're demonizing every single dog who's ever been
Yeah.
rehomed ever.
Yeah. Because if a shelter dog is not a normal dog, I so wholeheartedly believe everyone deserves a good dog, a
Yes.
normal, whatever that falls into for your range, a normal, good dog. I think dogs should be enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're here. We love dogs because
Mm-hmm.
they're enjoyable, not because we're saving them from their own demise
Mm.
because they're not normal. I don't
I don't like the sentiment that, or the idea that shelter dogs are not normal. So it's so hard for me. Okay.
Mhm.
So I think that dogs that are adopted out, or no, not even, I think that dogs that go into homes from anywhere should be stable, good dogs. Now, I
Mhm.
recognize that the range of stability and the range of, or the definition of good is different for everyone, right?
Yes,
I totally
absolutely.
get that. But like there are extremes from one end to the other, right?
Mhm.
And people deserve to have a dog that they don't have to worry is going to commit a level 4 bite in their home.
And can you explain what a level 4 bite would be?
Okay, so just so everyone understands, a level 4 bite by definition on Dr. Ian Dunbar scale. Level 4, 1 to 4 punctures from a single bite with at least one puncture deeper than half the length of the dog's canine teeth. May also have deep bruising around the wound or lacerations in both directions. So, this is not a situation where you're playing with your dog and they nip you and they immediately back up, or even you have a herding breed and they nip at your child's heels. Tater has bitten me, got in the way of him being very serious about dock diving. This is not what we're talking about. Here's the thing. I don't think that dog is a normal dog, or
No.
was. He was
Yeah.
euthanized. I don't think he was a normal dog. And I'm okay with him being euthanized. But
Mhm.
to make the statement that because he's a shelter dog, he's not normal, that's what I have a fucking problem with.
That's what I have a problem with.
That's what it
Because
is, right?
because if
Well,
in this
I'm getting
context
hot. Sorry guys,
in
turn
this
down your
con
volume.
I'm just gonna speak calmly and slowly so Heather can calm down. In this context, even though it simply says shelter dogs are not normal, what the subtext is, shelter dogs are not safe.
Yes.
And
And
that's what really bothers me, because if they are not safe, they should not be in
yeah,
our community. They should not be adopted out.
yep. And I also feel like, and we're going to get into the comments, but by the commenters blaming the people who returned him after the bite,
Mhm.
like they didn't try hard enough, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. It's like we're just supposed to accept a dog who is biting and say, oh, he's a shelter dog. That's normal for a shelter dog. So it's totally okay.
It's not okay.
No.
And in there, she says, if you don't know how to deal with it, you're giving him a death sentence. What bothers me is we're saying you have to be an expert level dog
Yep.
behaviorist to safely adopt a shelter dog. And I do not believe that is true.
Nope.
I believe there are really great dogs in the shelter that don't require kick gloves or Kevlar gloves for that
Oh,
matter.
really?
Yeah. And I don't think it's fair to say if you're not an expert in dog behavior, you're a murderer. Like
And
those are not equivalent.
no.
Like that's not.
And I also think that sheltering is really difficult. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're going to get it wrong.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to say, sometimes a really good dog is going to present with some behaviors that are not the best. We're not talking about bites, but they're just not going to do well in that environment. And they might get euthanized when in reality, they could have thrived outside the shelter. And
Sure.
sometimes a dog is going to make it onto the streets
Mhm.
who is a danger and it's going to go wrong. You're not always going to get it right. Behavior is way too
Yes. Yeah.
complex. And
Mhm.
a shelter environment is way too difficult. But
Mhm.
at the same time, when we get it wrong and then we have somebody return a dog who has a major bite and we
Mhm.
wanna demonize that person and say,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're sentencing this dog to death." You know what? That dog is not safe. I don't want that dog living next to me. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want that dog in my community.
Yeah. I don't want that dog next to me with my neighbors who have children,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
Even though those kids are kind of annoying. I don't want bad things to happen to them.
I feel like what really makes it, a real sort of sticking point for me is the intensity of the bite. You're not talking about a dog that just nipped at a person, and a bite is a bite is a bite. I'm not,
Sure.
but there is nuance and there's
Yeah,
details about all of
absolutely.
that stuff. You're talking
Yeah.
about a serious bite.
Yeah.
At minimum, those people have the absolute right to return that dog and receive zero judgment and only support for having done that.
Yeah, I think so in the comments, at least a third of the 106, 108
Yeah,
comments.
Christy actually counted, just so y'all
Yeah.
know.
So at least one third of the comments were bashing these specific adopters, attacking the public, and attacking adopters in general.
Mhm.
So people who adopt in general, saying what idiots people are, how stupid the public is, those types of things. I I don't know where we think we're gonna get adopters from,
Woo!
but here's a newsflash. It happens to be the public and from adopters.
Yeah,
So if we really think society is too stupid to
stupid.
own dogs, then we should not be adopting out dogs. We should give up.
Yeah.
I don't think the public's too stupid to have dogs. I think they're okay, my foster dog is really having a good time.
I'm really
He is
struggling to stay
also a
serious
shelter
right
dog.
now.
He's a shelter dog, and this is very normal behavior. I think the public is smart enough to own dogs. I think they're smart enough to get dogs from the shelter. I think it's something that I encourage. If you don't have a need or a want for a purebred dog, then I say find a great dog at the shelter. If I believed that you had to be an animal behavior expert, if I believed that no normal dogs were coming from the shelter, and if I believed that the public and adopters are too stupid to safely own dogs, then I would have to conclude that all the dogs in the shelter system should be euthanized.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not believe that. Like, do not cut this and paste it and like in a way that I sound like I'm saying bad things. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, okay, so of the two of us, you are absolutely way more pro shelter dog than I
Sure.
am.
Yeah.
Only in that, for me, at this stage in my life, I would not go to the shelter and blindly adopt a dog. If I am interested in adopting a dog, I personally would like a dog who has been in foster because
Mhm,
I would like more information about that dog. Okay.
mhm.
Does that mean that I don't think any sheltered dog should ever be adopted? Fuck no. Like that's just dumb because
Yeah.
there are so many people out there that don't have the specific needs and wants that I have.
Mhm.
So that makes no sense. But at the same time, this post pissed me off.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. I don't understand. And here's the thing that's crazy about it is that this person, and I say this in air quotes, is a shelter advocate.
Yeah. And the people who are sharing it are shelter advocates.
Yes.
But I don't think that helps our cause in getting dogs adopted because
No.
it just confirms to people who have some hesitancy about shelter dogs. It says, wow, even the people who are entrenched in the shelter know these dogs are not safe. They're not
Yep.
normal. They're not good.
Yep.
And they are fine with them biting people.
Yep.
I am not fine with a dog biting people. I am not fine with dogs being unsafe in our community.
Yep.
I am very pro giving people the resources that they need and want and supporting them when it's not a good match too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I worry because there was a picture that was shared publicly of these people when he got adopted because
Mhm,
he was in the shelter for 388 days before he
mhm.
got adopted. And everyone thought this is his happy ending. So I had that moment where I was like, oh shit, like in this day and age, people probably hunted them down,
Mhm.
freaking God knows what, based on the comments. But I don't like the also the use of like emotional terrorism.
Yes.
I don't, I thought that we were past this.
Oh, no. No,
I
no.
know. You know
Have
what it
you been
is?
in have you been out in society
No,
recently?
you know what it is? I have curated my feed
Ah,
for my own mental health and sanity
yes.
at this point to
And then Christy just comes and bombards you.
no, it's okay. I can handle it every now and again, but I cannot handle it day in and day out,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So, and when I say I shouldn't say I thought we were past it, I thought we were better. I thought we were being better, right? I thought like attaching all of this sob story. First of all, you don't even fucking know his story.
Yeah,
So
right.
you make it this whole, oh, what he was through, and oh, this, and oh, that. And it's so sad. And we need to make him, he was abused for 387 of those days. And, all of this stuff. It's like, you know what? Maybe he just wasn't wired right. Maybe he's just
Yeah.
not a dog that can safely live in our society, which I believe is true. And
Mhm.
maybe that's not the kind of dog, especially when we have an overwhelming amount available in our shelters here in Phoenix,
Yeah,
that we should waste resources and 388 days on
yeah. And I'm sure he did seem like a great dog in the shelter. I
with
understand
people
that.
with serious behavior knowledge who
Yeah,
are taking care of him. Oh, I'm sure.
with not meeting any other dogs,
Yeah.
all of that.
Because
Yeah.
it was an incident that involved another dog.
Yeah. I think probably one of the reasons you thought maybe we were past this or better than getting better is I think Heather and I were really lucky in our volunteering group. We
Mm.
joined groups that were very positive.
And
So
progressive.
and progressive. So it was very pro-supportive of adopters. And then a lot of those not a lot, but some of those adopters ended up becoming part of our volunteer
Mhm.
group because there was a support system and just genuine respect and love for the people who were adopting dogs. And I I've been in both spaces, and I'm gonna tell you it's so much more fun to to live in a space of encouragement and kindness, and even in the frustrating times, to have a positive outlook. And I do think we protected ourselves in having
That's
those
probably
groups.
true. Because I
Yeah,
don't think I could have volunteered as long as I did if I was like in the muck with people like who wrote this post. I could have never
right.
stayed.
I think the other thing that I immediately sent to Heather was, if shelter dogs aren't normal and going to a breeder is evil,
Ooh,
where do dogs come from? Where do we get our dogs?
where do they come from, Christy?
I don't know.
I literally like don't I really don't know. I, okay. There are people out there that really don't want us to own dogs anymore. There is a whole movement of people who are
Those are
radical.
not our people.
No, 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 no. But my point is things like shelter dogs are not normal. We're giving the fight to them. We're
Yeah,
handing them ammunition,
yeah,
literally handing them ammunition for us to no longer own these amazing, beloved beings that we share our lives with. I have a major problem with that. I cannot imagine my life without dogs. And I'm telling you, if you're listening to this episode and you think there are not people out there that do not want people to own dogs anymore or have domesticated dogs, go do some research. It is true.
yeah.
And
I think PETA is pretty
well,
open
yes,
about
we
their
can talk
stance.
about PETA. And when we say things like this, we are supposed to be advocates for dogs.
Mhm,
And we are handing the keys to the kingdom for ammunition
mhm,
for people to take away our dogs.
mhm.
And I
When
agree
we
with
say this
you.
is not the exception, this is the rule.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And here's the thing, a stable dog should be the rule. A dog
yeah,
that lands a level 4 bite should be the exception.
absolutely.
We're doing it wrong, man, if we are talking about shit like that.
Yeah, and if we're sharing that as
Yes, 100
content,
times or whatever it
yeah,
is.
yeah. 51
Oh,
times,
51
51 shares.
times. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's terrifying. And it's public. That is
Mhm,
public.
yeah. And I think kind of like, as I sat with that thought of where do dogs come from then, I think we have to go back to our ethical breeders and our ethical rescue. And an ethical rescue does exist,
Mm-hmm.
and ethical sheltering does
Mm-hmm.
exist. I would not say that if I believed that shelter dogs could not be normal or are not normal.
Right, because in the way that you and I believe, if a rescue is doing things ethically, they're keeping temperament and behavior in mind, and they
Yeah.
are only adopting out dogs that they believe are safe. So
Yes.
if all shelter dogs are not normal, which essentially to me equals unsafe,
Mhm.
well, why do we even need rescue? It's like you said, we don't need no dogs because ain't nobody safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I understand the statement like, hey, they may need some extra like love and attention and
Yeah, that's
patience.
not what we're talking about here,
And
though.
we're not. Yeah. Because I will say most of the dogs that have come to me from the shelter as fosters have a period of time where
Yeah.
they're a little extra needy, a
Hmm.
little their needs have not been fully met.
But how many of them have given you a level 4 bite, Christy?
None of them. None of them.
And that's what gets me. This post is implying that this dog that this is what you should expect from a shelter dog. Well, of course, from a shelter dog, you should expect a dog that might give you a bite. And God for fucking bid, you return that dog or you do anything with that dog, but keep it, rearrange your entire life, and manage that dog to the nth degree, which will always fail anyway in some shape or form. And
Yeah.
you rearrange your whole world to keep this one dog.
You cannot have perfection from people. Like,
No.
let's just take that off the table. Also from dogs. Like, you can't have perfection from dogs or people. So two messed up beings
Yeah.
trying to manage situations. When we start out with stability and we start out with safety in
Mm-hmm.
mind, then when those things happen where we don't go through the plan 100%, or we
Mm-hmm.
skip a step, or we forget to latch the gate, or we,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, it's not disaster. The wording of the post in general, because yes, they're saying the bite comes into play, but what they're saying overall is you cannot have a normal dog from the shelter,
Mm-hmm.
which to me doesn't always equate bite, although there was some subtext that you can't have a safe dog. But that's, in all fairness, that's not what they said. They said you can't have a normal dog.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what else are we gonna be dealing with if it's not a bite? What other horrible things are
Mm-hmm.
we taking on?
Well,
And
yeah.
I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's right. And if you really believe that all shelter dogs are damaged goods, then we should be
What are
pushing
we
people
doing?
in a different direction.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. I don't think there's any one person that gets to decide what is, I hate the normal, but it's the
Right.
hand we were dealt. I don't think any one individual gets to decide what is normal and what is not, because what you are willing to handle and you're okay with, and what I'm okay with, and what our other friends are okay with, they're all very different things. What we
Yeah.
need to do is be honest and be upfront and
Mhm,
be rational
mhm,
and non like try our best not to be emotional
mhm,
and to use the knowledge that is out there to assess behaviors and give people information
mhm,
and to make sure that when we are the advocates for shelter dogs, we are doing right by them, because
mhm,
these people are not doing right by shelter dogs.
mhm.
And I stand alone probably on that, because there's a lot of people who be like, "Oh, but they share and they this and they." No, that
Right.
person did a
Mhm.
lot of fucking damage.
Yeah, in our opinion, I think that post was a far more damaging than what they ever would think, but also it matters. Like, the
Yep.
words we use matter too.
Especially when
Um
it's on a public social media post.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and normal, like Heather said, normal can be so many things. My version of normal with Lucy is very different than German short hair pointer's
Mhm.
version of normal. Like,
Mhm.
that would not be a good fit for me. That would
Mhm.
be insanity.
Mhm.
But that's normal behavior for that dog. Like,
Right.
so normal can be on a very sliding scale, but safe should always be there.
Yeah.
Let's just
Safe
say safe should always be there.
safe should always be one of those things that is on our list.
Yeah, and we can't care more about one dog getting out of the shelter
Ooh.
than we care about the people who are doing the adopting, the people in our community.
We can't care about more about getting one dog adopted than we care about our community and its safety as a whole.
Yeah,
We really can't.
yeah,
And it's like you said at the beginning, if we are demonizing adopters who, at the end of the day, are not the right fit for any dog ever, who's adopting?
yeah,
You know?
yeah, if yeah, 'Cause they are literally our only hope for getting dogs out of the shelter is
Right.
adopt. Like,
Well,
that
even adopters who go to rescue, because then if you adopt from rescue, then the
yeah,
rescue is able to
rescue can
pull more
pull.
shelter dogs.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not just demonizing that one person. Let me tell you, that person has friends and family and possibly kids, and they are talking about how they were treated. And that is a lasting impression, and
Yeah.
it has ripples far beyond that single post. Not just talking about the whole subject of normal dogs versus not normal being shelter dogs. You are talking about an entire community now that has been demonized for doing the right thing,
Mhm.
for doing what is right for their family.
Yeah. And I will say I had a friend who adopted a puppy, almost got its litter mate, almost reeled me into that, but did not.
Mm,
It was years ago, and the dog had some issues as it got older, some resource guarding issues that they could not safely manage with their current dog and a baby on the way.
mhm.
They were very worried about that, and I thank God I was the one who got bit over a situation. I stupidly reached my hand in to a situation because 'cause I'd
Mhm,
known this dog since she was a puppy. I trusted
mhm,
her, and when she bit me, I was very surprised.
mhm.
But it was a good learning experience, and I was thankful I was the one who got bit, not, like, their child or something.
Right.
But clearly, that's not a safe environment to bring a child into
Mhm,
with a dog who bites, and
mhm,
she had no remorse when she bit me. She drew blood, and there was 0 remorse.
mhm.
And I remember the owners still really were torn up about giving her back to the rescue, but
Yeah.
they knew they needed to. And I said, "I will volunteer to speak to the rescue and explain the situation because I speak rescue."
Mhm.
So I can better navigate some of the things that they may ask you or talk to you about. And she was like, "No, it's my dog, my responsibility. I'll do it." And she followed them on social media
Oh, no.
until her dog got adopted, and she just grinned and bared every hateful, horrible, unkind, demonizing comment
Judgmental.
about her. And her husband said, "You gotta stop. You gotta stop." And she goes, "Not until I know that dog is safe. Like, I need to know she ends up in a good spot, however that makes me feel in the interim."
Ooh, she was
And
literally, like, torturing herself.
yeah. And then the dog got adopted. She immediately unfollowed and she said, "I know rescue is your thing, Christy, but never again. I
Yep,
will never put myself through that again
yep.
because not only was there not support, they demonized me for adopting."
Not demonizing for returning the dog, everyone. Not demonizing her for that. Demonizing her for adopting. That was the statement.
Yeah. It's not, and she ended up going with a backyard breeder for her next dog.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
Literally next door, backyard.
Ha! That's really
But
unfortunate. Really,
yeah.
really unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know what gets me too? And I don't want to go down the breeder track, but in a situation like that, that rescue demonizing her churned the supply and demand cycle of a backyard breeder who's producing dogs, putting them on the street and not taking responsibility for them, and hence allowing the cycle of rescue to continue.
Yeah, and I would say, like, a lot of people are probably gonna say, "Yeah, but we don't want returners coming to rescue." But guess what? She's never returned another dog. She's had this is, her 3rd or 4th dog as an adult. It was 1 dog that was not a good fit. She's a good dog owner.
That's not what I
So
meant.
no, 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 I know you
Oh,
didn't
okay.
mean that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, when people listen, they're like, "Well, oh, no, we lost one that returns dogs, ooh."
Oh,
Like,
oh, I
you
got
know
you.
what I'm
Got you.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, we don't want them anyway, but it's far greater. Like, she's a good dog owner, and we pushed her, and I say we as a
A
rescue
community.
community, pushed her to a backyard breeder
Yeah.
instead of going to rescue again
Yeah.
and saying,
Which
"Hey,
is,
here's a better fit."
and I feel like this post, it doesn't just damage shelter dogs,
Mhm,
right? We are damaging shelter dogs, we are damaging potential adopters,
mhm.
we're damaging it all. And like, not we, because I
Yeah,
definitely wouldn't make a post like
no,
this, nor would
no,
Christy, but
no.
it truly is so, so damaging on so many levels. And I just wonder, how does it feel for this person to live in such a perfect life that nothing has ever gone wrong? It's like the
Yeah,
whole glass house thing. It's like
mhm,
no one's ever allowed to have something go wrong,
yeah,
especially when you're talking about something that has such massive effects.
yeah. Yeah, and I think also when they post dogs from a shelter, we're not just the public, and myself included a lot of times, when I see shelter, I think equates to rescue, not just
Mm,
dogs from Maricopa County Animal Care and
mm-hmm,
Control. I think rescue, and I think that's what a lot of people think shelter equals rescue.
mm.
So we're now demonizing every rescue
Oh, that's
dog.
a good point. Literally every single dog.
Yeah,
That's a real shame.
it is a shame because there's so many good ones, very normal ones.
Mm-hmm.
Some quirky ones too.
There she goes with that normal thing again.
I know. Normal, quirky, whatever you want. That spectrum, that
We
scale is
have
a
it
sliding
all.
scale. Yeah.
Yeah,
By the way, I have a quirky guy right now
Christy has a
who is
quirky guy right
adoptable.
now. But like seriously though, like look at Jackson as an example. I
Yeah,
mean, we're saying that he's not normal. Honestly,
he's so
Jackson's a
normal.
great fucking dog.
He's so great. He is, I mean, he is a lot of dog, but he is a joy. Like,
Yep.
he is a joy, honestly.
I mean, of all the dogs that you have fostered over the years, I feel like 95% of them were pretty fucking
Mhm.
normal.
Yeah. Or I wouldn't have, been able to keep them,
But that's
you
my
know?
point.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of there's a lot of really great normal dogs available in
For
rescue.
adoption. Yep. For
Yes.
adoption. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
However that adoption looks, if it's rescue or
Right.
shelter or through foster, whatever.
Yeah. So I think that to sort of bring it all together, words matter, as Christy said. They
Mhm,
truly do. Intention matters. Something that is such a hot button issue has serious ripple effects.
mhm,
And to judge somebody in a situation like this when they even said that they didn't know the whole story. I mean, I think that you're potentially turning off a whole host of people who could potentially be adopters in the future.
mhm,
And on top of that,
mhm,
you are giving ammunition to anyone who wants it to make a case for dogs not being safe in general.
mhm,
And you are demonizing every single dog that is needing a new home. I
mhm,
mean, in one Facebook post, 51 shares, 108 comments,
mhm.
public
Just on the original post,
on
not
the
we did
original
not
that
go through
right.
the
No, we
shared
did
post,
not.
so
But
yeah,
That's
that's
there's probably
just on the
thousands.
original
Yeah,
post. I
yeah,
mean, that has massive, massive
yeah,
damage that is happening.
yeah. That
You know
means
what?
51 other people thought that a
Worth.
s it was a good idea to share,
Hmm.
and that there wasn't any fallacy in the logic,
Yeah.
which is
Scare.
disappointing to me.
Yeah.
I I think I've gone from angry to, like, sad about it.
Mm,
Like, I
yeah.
started real hot with Heather, but now I'm just kinda sad, like, that nobody else is seeing, and maybe that it's part of what I want people to do too is to look at things logically
Mhm.
and think, does this really make sense?
Mhm.
Is this honest and true? And I think it's so easy to share things on Facebook or Instagram or any of the social medias. I said Facebook and then I realized I'm 108 years old using Facebook.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to share things on
But it
social
has
media,
repercussions.
but we need to think through, yeah, like,
Mhm.
does it logically make sense? And if it doesn't sit well, maybe, like, take some time to break apart the post and why
Mhm.
maybe it doesn't sit well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, and it just I've since you sent me that post, I just keep thinking about a piece of writing, The Perils of Adopting a Marginal Dog.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
I
can
probably
link that.
butchered that. I probably butchered the name, but by Trish McMillan.
Mhm.
And the effects of why it's important to make sure the dogs we are adopting out are stable. But it's
Mhm.
not even really about that. It's about the ripple effects of our actions and the ripple effects of this
Mm.
post.
And I also think, on the other hand, kindness has a ripple effect
Mm,
too. And I would really much rather see that ripple effect go through the rescue community.
yes. I hope you guys stuck with us. And if you agree or disagree, I hope
Let us
at
know.
minimum we gave you something to think about.
Yes. Yeah,
And we would love to hear from you.
absolutely. Tell us your thoughts about it.
Yep.
If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and share us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, come on over to Instagram and engage with us at Sometimes There's Side Eye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.